She won a national talent competition at 12, got compared to Taylor Swift, signed a record deal, and toured the world, all before she was old enough to drive. Then, almost a decade later, she posted a 3-word caption on TikTok, "Out of rehab." Grace VanderWaal was once the most celebrated child performer in America, and the story of how she went from Golden Buzzer winner to a young woman quietly checking herself into a treatment facility is one that almost nobody in the mainstream has bothered to tell properly. By the end of this, you will understand exactly what happened, not just the events, but the system that made them inevitable. In 2016, a 12-year-old girl walked onto the America's Got Talent stage carrying a ukulele and a spiral notebook full of original songs. She was not a YouTube discovery or a stage mom creation. Grace Avery VanderWaal had taught herself to play by watching tutorial videos in her bedroom in Suffern, New York, a small town about 30 miles north of Manhattan. She had been performing at open mic nights. Nobody outside of Rockland County knew her name. She performed an original song called "I Don't Know My Name." That title, in hindsight, carries more weight than anyone in that auditorium understood. Howie Mandel hit the golden buzzer before the final note landed. The audience lost its composure. Simon Cowell, who rarely gives unqualified praise, looked at the cameras and said she could be the next Taylor Swift. She did not just advance, she won the entire season. At 12, writing and performing her own material against adult professionals. Columbia Records and Psycho Music signed her within weeks of the finale. Her debut EP, Perfectly Imperfect, came out in December of that year and became the best-selling EP of 2016 in the United States. She was 13 years old and already a professional recording artist on a major label, with a Grammy-nominated producer attached to her project. The industry did not wait for her to grow up. It moved immediately. But here's the part that changes everything about what you just heard. By 2017, Grace released her first full-length album, Just the Beginning, which debuted at number 22 on the Billboard 200. That same year, Billboard gave her the Women in Music Rising Star Award. She was 13. The next year, Forbes put her on the 30 Under 30 music list, the youngest person ever to appear on it. Then came the tours, not her own headlining runs, opening slots for artists with massive global followings. In 2018, she joined Imagine Dragons on their Evolve World Tour, Dog Clippers. She captioned it 2 words, "I did it." She was 16. The internet reacted the way the internet reacts: concern, speculation, armchair diagnosis. Comments flooded in asking if she was having a mental breakdown, if she was on drugs, if something terrible had happened. The speed and intensity of the assumptions told her something she had not fully processed before. The world was more sexist than she had realized. A teenage girl cuts her hair, and the first instinct from strangers is to assume crisis. She pushed back. On a follow-up post, she wrote across the screen, "Good riddance if you don't like it. Go away." In a 2021 interview with Nylon, she reflected on the reaction with clarity that sounded far older than 16. She said she understood the backlash was not really about hair. It was about control. About the discomfort people feel when a young woman who was supposed to stay frozen in one version of herself decides to move. The head shave was not a breakdown. It was a declaration, and what followed confirmed it. In March 2021, she released a new single called "Don't Assume What You Don't Know." The ukulele was gone. In its place, an electric bass. The sound was harder, sharper, more confrontational. It was the first piece of music she had put out in over a year, and it carried a message that was impossible to misread. But the music did not keep flowing. After that single, Grace went quiet again. The next full project would not arrive for nearly 4 more years. Something else was happening behind the surface that she was not ready to talk about yet. Most people who know this story stop here, but the real story starts right now. Between November 2019 and April 2025, Grace VanderWaal did not release a full body of work. Her last EP, Letters Vol. 1, came out when she was 15. Her next album, Child Star, landed when she was 21. That is a 6-year gap in the career of someone who had been a professional artist since the age of 12. During those years, she did not disappear entirely. She acted. Disney cast her as the lead in Stargirl, a feel-good teen film that hit the streaming platform in 2020. She returned for the sequel, Hollywood Stargirl, in 2022. Both roles fit the existing brand: sweet, quirky, harmless. The kind of projects that keep a former child star visible without requiring them to reveal anything real. Then came a role that broke the pattern completely. Francis Ford Coppola had been tracking her career for years. When his long-gestating passion project Megalopolis finally moved into production, he reached out. He cast her as Vesta Sweetwater, a virginal pop star who gets caught in a deepfake scandal that destroys her public image. Coppola offered her the job on the spot and asked her to write 2 original songs for the film. Grace later said she definitely connected with the character, a young woman whose wholesome image becomes both her currency and her cage. In an interview with Variety, she was direct about the parallels. She described the trope of the innocent child star as something she had personally participated in. She also made clear that the entertainment industry's pressure was not a cartoon scenario of villainous executives making crude demands. It was subtler than that, she said, more nuanced, and that made it harder to fight. At the Kennedy Center Honors in December 2024, she performed The Impossible Dream in tribute to Coppola. Fans on TikTok were stunned, not by the performance, by the fact that the 12-year-old girl from AGT was now a 20-year-old woman, standing on one of the most prestigious stages in the country, and they had barely noticed her growing up. She never talked about this publicly, until now. On April 4, 2025, Grace VanderWaal released a Confrontation. The opening track, Proud, lays it out in the first verse. The lyrics describe a child promising to stay small, not take up space, and remember gratitude, the exact posture she was trained to hold from the moment she won AGT. In a statement about the song, she described it as the story of the golden child archetype, a child who neglects their own needs in order to be seen as valued, loved, or mature. In a conversation on The Zach Sang Show, she went further. She said the word gratitude holds a lot of negativity for her, that it tortured her for years, that she was conditioned to feel grateful at all times, even when she was struggling, even when her home life was unstable around the time of her AGT win. The expectation was clear. You got lucky, so you do not get to complain. You do not get to ask for help. You perform, you smile, and you say thank you. This is the angle that most coverage of Grace VanderWaal misses entirely. The head shave gets clicks. The AGT win gets nostalgia. But the deeper story, the one she encoded into every track on Childstar, is about how praise itself became the mechanism of harm. She was not ignored, she was celebrated, and the celebration came with a price: silence about anything that did not fit the narrative. She described the previous music she had made under Columbia as stupid and trash in an interview with The Hollywood Reporter. That is not false modesty. That is a woman looking back at work she made under conditions that did not allow her to be honest. Childstar was the first project where she felt she finally had the freedom to say what she actually meant. She toured behind the album in May 2025. She was independent. She was writing on her own terms. For the first time in nearly a decade, she was in control. What happened next is the reason this story spread across the internet. On October 20, 2025, Grace VanderWaal's mother, Tina, died of triple-negative breast cancer. She was 53. She had been diagnosed 17 months earlier, in June 2024, and had been documenting her treatment journey on her own Instagram page. Her last post in September 2025 noted she had completed her second round of radiation with 8 sessions remaining. She did not make it to the end. Grace posted the next day. The words were spare and raw. She wrote that she could not yet find the words, that she woke up and wanted to call her mother, that she did not know how to move forward. Her father, Dave, published a longer tribute on Facebook. He described Tina as the heart of the family. He and Tina had been married 27 years and had 3 children, Jacob, Olivia, and Grace. He called her a fighter who maintained a positive outlook not only for herself, but for other cancer patients she had connected with during treatment. Tina designed jewelry, taught art workshops, and made every family gathering an event. Her loss was not abstract. It was specific and irreplaceable. On Christmas Day 2025, Grace posted again. She shared photos from the previous year's holiday, the last one with her mother. She wrote that everything felt lonely without her, that she was trying, that she wished she could talk to her. Grace was 21 years old. She had just released the most honest work of her career. She had just gone on tour for the first time as an independent artist, and she had just lost the one person who had been standing behind her since the first open mic night. One phone call, one conversation. That's all it took to change the direction of everything. On March 9, 2026, Grace VanderWaal posted a message on Instagram announcing that she would not be joining Natalie Jane's upcoming tour as a supporting act. The reason was direct. She cited mental health. Her words were careful but unflinching. She wrote that she had been struggling for a while, that she was choosing herself in that moment. She apologized to anyone who was disappointed and told her fans she loved them. There was no spin, no publicist language, just a young woman stating a fact and asking for understanding. Natalie Jane responded publicly. She wrote that health comes first, always. Carson Daly, who had worked with Grace during her early AGT years, posted a message of support. Jewel weighed in. The response, but that framing lets every system off the hook. She did not fail to handle it. She handled it for a decade. She wrote the songs they told her to write. She smiled in the interviews. She said thank you. She performed Gratitude on demand, night after night, city after city, year after year. And when she finally started peeling that mask off, first with the head shave, then with the bass guitar, then with Child Star, then with the tour cancellation, and finally with Rehab, the public acted like something had gone wrong. Nothing went wrong, something went right. She stopped performing a version of herself that was killing her. The industry that signed a 12-year-old to a major label deal did not build in a safety net. The audiences that fell in love with the cute kid with the ukulele did not consider what happens to that kid at 16, at 20, at 22. The word gratitude, repeated often enough to a child, does not teach thankfulness. It teaches silence. Grace has said she is at peace with not owning the masters to her early music. She does not want them back. Those songs belong to a person she no longer is, a person she was never fully allowed to be in the first place. She told her fans she would be singing again soon. She did not say when. She did not promise a timeline. For the first time in her public life, she is not performing to someone else's schedule. Grace VanderWaal did not fall apart because she was fragile. She fell apart because the structure around her was never designed to hold a growing person, only a frozen image of a child. As of spring 2026, Grace is out of treatment, reconnecting with her audience on her own terms, and has signaled that new music is coming. Whether that arrives this year or next, the version of Grace VanderWaal that returns will be the first one the public has ever actually met. Not the Golden Buzzer Kid, not the Columbia Records product, not the Disney ingenue, the real one. Do you think the music industry has any business signing 12-year-olds to major label deals? Or should there be an age limit on that kind of contract? Tell me where you stand.